Hey, 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 everybody. Once again, we are back. The hero's word returns, brought back because of Star Wars The Acolyte, a brand new show by Disney Plus set 100 years before the events of the Phantom Menace in the era known as the High Republic. The Acolyte will introduce us to whole bunch of new Jedis as the Jedi are in their height. There is peace across the Republic, but that peace is threatened by a dark new Sith-like threat. So I'm Andre from Heroes World, and joining me is my good friend Nikki. Nikki, how are you doing?
I am ecstatic. I've been waiting for this show for like 4 years, and
Whoa.
it's so great to finally see it on screen. I believe the first time I saw a glimpse of this show was last year's Star Wars Celebration. We saw the fight scene at the beginning, and I've been holding on to that for a year, over a year. So
Over a year. Well, that must have been pretty awesome, though, because that fight scene sets up a very pivotal moment. But before we get into that, folks, we are going to be talking about this new show, and we are going to be doing our first impressions of it. So there's going to be spoilers all kind. So if you don't want to hear anything about the plot, anything about the characters, you might want to hit pause, remember this, watch the show, and then come back and hear our thoughts because we cannot guarantee that we're not going to ruin anything for you. So, Nikki, let's get back to that. You saw this at Star Wars Celebration, so you're a little bit of a Star Wars fan like me, right?
just a bit, just a
All
bit.
right, just a bit, just a bit. And what drew you to this era known as the High Republic?
Um, my favorite thing about Star Wars is the Jedi. I just love their whole philosophy. I love that they tried and they failed, but they're still like their whole thing is hope and believing in the light and keeping the balance. And as someone who's always been a Superman fan, as someone who's always been attracted to like light-sided characters and philosophies, that's always attracted me to it. And then when I heard about the High Republic book and comic book, like multimedia initiative, I was really excited to see the Jedi from back in the day, back before everything. And I was also a really big fan of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. That was my favorite video game as a kid. So to even have hints of that as well, I got a lot more than I thought. And yeah, I just love that era. It's my favorite era in Star Wars right now.
That's so cool because my reaction to it initially as a longtime Star Wars fan, and especially of reading the novels and the expanded universe and stuff, when they talked about the High Republic era and their whole initiative, I thought, yo, this is super brave and bold. They're going to be doing comics. They're going to be doing children's books. They're going to be doing novels. They're going to be doing young adult novels. They were covering the whole gambit, but it felt to me like they were kind of rewriting some stuff. You know, I'd read all the Dark Horse comics that were the Old Republic and whatnot. But needless to say, as a comic store or hobby store owner, you know, I had to check out some of this stuff because those comics came out and a lot of people were interested. So that's where I come in for it. But I will say I was a little bit trepidatious, you know, like I didn't jump in wholeheartedly, even though Jedis are my thing. But I will say this show and the first trailer for this show, The Acolyte, really got me like, wow, what have I been missing? You know, I'm chomping at the bit. I was trying to hold back my excitement for this show after the first trailer, and I basically couldn't. I was doing the countdown, waiting for it. We talked many times at the store about what we thought about the trailers and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So we both watched the first two episodes. So let's get right into it. First simple question. Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. It was pretty much, I think, everything from most things from the trailer. So it wasn't super surprising in a way. The first episode really needed that second episode to follow it. Like I would have been kind of just more disappointed if they just showed the first episode. But those two together really blew me away.
Yeah, I got to totally agree with that. As I was saying, I really didn't want to get too excited about this and everything, and when I say everything, like the history of the Disney Plus shows for me has been one of high on the roller coaster, and then it didn't deliver. So I was just like, Andre, don't get excited about it. It's a trailer. It could be cut really well. And as they kept releasing the second trailers and stuff, I'm like, no, this is looking good. I'm like, it just looked fantastic. And seeing not only multiple Jedis, but then seeing them in different attire, seeing them look like they do in the comics and on the covers of those books, it's just like, wow, these guys really did a good job putting together this universe. Like it just like right away, it looked and felt tangible. Like there's depth to every scene. I don't know how much you spent looking in the backgrounds and stuff like that, but you can tell this is shot on location. You can tell that there's everything is there. It's physical and stuff. And that gave me a super sense of immersion and just seeing all of the like kind of the characters. It lived up to my expectations. So even though I was excited to see it, I still didn't have, I'm like, okay, don't be too high, but it really delivered. And I got to say, what made me even more excited was the fact that you mentioned most of the scenes from the trailer we saw played out in that first episode and stuff. So it wasn't a lot to be shocked at, but where they had placed things, like I didn't know what the order of that was. And the first event like really, really shocked me in it. And that was, okay, let's just get right into it. Man, one of the things I was so stoked about this coming out, I'm like, Carrie-Anne Moss as a Jedi. I'm like, Trinity, one of my favorite characters from The Matrix. Love that series. I love her. She's a phenomenal actress. And I was just like, oh my God, this is going to be just epic. She's a Jedi Master. And the fight scene was epic. It was really cool. Like, what a way to start the show. But then I was just like, no way, they didn't off you in 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. Like, come on, this is like what? I was just like, did you expect that to happen, or did you have like I guess they wouldn't have showed it before, but what were your thoughts on that?
So that, like I said before, that fight scene has been on my mind for over a year. So I've had time to like be excited about this fight scene, and as soon as I saw it was the first scene, I knew that I knew it. I was just like, this is how they're gonna start it. This is gonna be the hook. And because going into it, we know it's a murder mystery. Somebody's killing Jedi. So as soon as that started, I was like, oh no, she's first.
Oh, you know what? I was kind of thinking that like they would have had the fight, the person would get away, and then they'd be like, oh, maybe this is the person that was killed. But anyways, it was kind of a good hook. I kind of feel that, although I do think, here I do think it was a waste of Carrie-Anne as a character. I think it was also kind of a smart play too, because there's going to be a lot of people bringing in what they know of Carrie-Anne and say, oh, this is, it's Trinity. She's a great martial artist. So even though they didn't establish this character, well, obviously we could see that she could fight, use the Force, and martial arts and stuff. It's almost like she has this reputation already within us. So to have her go down first, that this mysterious assassin is a credible threat. So I think it's exactly that, a really, really good hook to get the show started. But we spoke of Carrie-Anne Moss. Let's pop up and take a brief look at some of the other really good actors in this show. I gotta say, again, really loved the costuming and the makeup. Some of these characters, they are quasi unrecognizable as the character they're playing, right? So so far who we've seen, Daphne Keene, wow, she just like looks utterly alien. I don't see her. I hear her a little bit, but I don't see her. Manny Jacinto played like a really good underworld kind of slime ball, I guess you'd say, right? Little bit of a fixer, right?
He's described himself as Han Solo without the charm.
I don't know. That's
Like a
interesting.
like a
I guess he's
scoundrel without the
both a
charm.
scoundrel, but definitely so far we've seen him a little bit on the he's playing for the other team, the dark side, right? Or not dark side. Maybe he that might be a little bit too strong. He is working with the assassin and the he said he worked for the crime lords and stuff. But yeah, no. Again, like I really do like that when you see the actor playing a role and you don't see the actor, right?
Yeah.
So you can tell that they're getting into their roles, and I really like that. So speaking about some of the characters and the actors, did you have a favorite character or actor so far in these 2 episodes?
I'm pretty sure mostly everybody. I really enjoyed Jackie. Yord is so funny to make fun of.
Yeah,
And Master Soul is just, he is Qui-Gon but warm and like
yeah,
personable, which I like Qui-Gon and all, but he is a bit harsh sometimes. So I really liked Master Soul. Vernestra is interesting. I'm sure we'll get into more of that later. And May and Osha are, we don't know too much about them, but I'm excited to see them as two sides of the same coin. So hoping that plays out a little bit more.
yeah. I think you know, at first I was really taken aback that they revealed what they revealed, and that it's two separate people. I thought they were going to do the whole either not split personality, but two souls, one body, or two minds, one body, and they kind of allude to that. When she has her first vision, and they kind of have this almost like this ritual chant, and they say, "Oh, you remembered." So I was just like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of cool." But actually, if you pay attention to it, the two characters, like, one's got really longer hair,
Mhm.
and the other one's the hair short. So you're like, okay, well, I guess you could say something fantastic is going to happen, and the hair lengthens and shortens. But they
Is this a
also,
Revan situation?
yeah, they also do have different like mannerisms and movement. I don't know if you noticed that, but so she's doing a really good job, I think, playing both sides of it, and especially having a little bit of humor, if it's whether it's intended or not, in that May is so kind of straightforward, and it's like
Mhm.
the people she runs into almost don't take her seriously. She's like, "Fight me," and then everybody laughs and stuff like that, and you can see across her face. You're like, "No, I'm serious. This is me. I'm a threat." So I kind of like that. It might not have been intentional, but again, I think she's definitely showed some range already in this. But you're absolutely right. Master Saul, give me a Master Saul show, cartoon, comic, novel. He is just so interesting because he's not only do we know he's a Jedi, but he's also open to his emotions. And I thought that was really cool. And they set that up right at the beginning when Master Vernestra comes in and says, "Oh, we think it's your former apprentice." And then she's like, "Oh, I can see that still touches a note with you." and he doesn't hide it, so it's like, this is really, I think, a part of the Jedi that we haven't seen since Luke Skywalker, basically. And we know that he did it his way because he didn't know any other way, whereas Saul is right in on Coruscant in the Jedi, and to be able to not only show your emotions, but kind of not question them, but just be open with them and stuff like that. I thought he was really good. You mentioned Yord. I, to be honest with you, I think he's doing a great job. I think he's there to be the Jedi stick in the mud, right? He's by the book. He's going to follow principle and everything, and he's just doing everything like just the rigid guy. But I think he's playing that, and he is going to be the not necessarily the butt of the jokes, but he's just, I think, of that he takes his job and his position very seriously, and stuff. And part of me thinks that could lead down the road, like if we know that this is 100 years before the Jedi, but there's almost a little bit of a naive arrogance with him. I was getting, like he's just almost like, I'm better or stuff. I'm prepared. I'm a Jedi. Oh, the prison ship will take you now. You're not worthy of this and stuff. So it's kind of, I think showing that little bit of the potential where the Jedi become disconnected and leads to where we see the series. But yeah, I think, like I said, so far everybody has been interesting, and I think I really like that. And I think that's one of the reasons I've enjoyed the show, is that I don't have any expectations of the characters because they are all new. And even though the situation may be kind of common, it's not super original. It seems like a revenge plot. The characters are new, and I don't have anything to compare them to in another like media. Like I haven't. These aren't characters from a video game, or characters from a comic book, or characters from a novel, or something. So I think it's in a way kind of like a fresh take, and that way I'm open to see what they do, as opposed to comparing it to, oh, I've read that comic, this character isn't like this. And I think that's really good for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this is what I really like about the High Republic and how it set itself apart from the Old Republic. And I don't like one more than the other. Like I said, Knights of the Old Republic was one of my absolute favorite video games. I collected the comics at the time, and I really liked that era. But this one made the Republic shiny and like bright. And the High Republic is just the height of the Republic. It's their temple robes, their ceremonial robes are brighter, because they're not on missions all the time, and they're not fighting all the time. They're very rarely fighting, actually, and it's personified in the fight scenes between May and Indara and Master Saul. They don't use their lightsabers because that's the last resort. So, and it's interesting to see that contrasted with Yord always reaching for his lightsaber. Like he's the nervous cop, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that, the fighting, because it's been a big part of the first two episodes, and as we know, it's a big part of the series. And you're absolutely right. The Jedi are keepers of the peace, and the lightsaber. There's a great line in the first episode where May says a Jedi doesn't draw her weapon unless she's willing to kill, and there's that moment of hesitation and stuff, and it's a great line where we have seen the Jedi's, like that's their go-to, that's their tool to do everything. Need to open a door, lightsaber.
need to lock a door.
Yeah, lightsaber, right? Need to stop a villain or something. Throw the lightsaber, or cut off a limb, right? So this was really good, but I really like that we've seen this martial aspect of the Jedi, and it was really cool for me to see these because I obviously enjoy a lot of martial arts movies, and a couple of my favorite I don't want to say they're my absolute favorites, but the ones that really stick with me, I really loved Crouching Tiger 1 and 2. And I always thought, man, Lee Mubai is a Jedi. Like he's just perfect like that, you know. And seeing when Carrie Ann Moss as Indara kind of steps up the ladder or the stairs, it reminded me very much of that scene in Crouching Tiger where they're on the bamboo.
Yeah,
And
the wuxia kind of the
yeah,
Hong Kong cinema.
exactly.
That was something that the showrunner Leslie Headland
Headland, yep,
she
yep.
she talked about at Celebration, how that was an influence on how she approached the action scenes in The Acolyte, similarly to how George Lucas was influenced by Samurai.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to hear her talk so passionately about that aspect of it,
And
considering her previous credits don't lend itself to action. So it was really cool to see that she is a fan of that, and it shows.
it shows, and it works, and it fits in. And I think maybe, you know, we can't put people into boxes. Like just because somebody hadn't done something before doesn't mean they can't do something. It doesn't mean they haven't observed something and said, hey, I want to use this, and then probably brought in the right people to say, hey, here's my stunt team, here's my fight choreographers, here's my storyboarders that are going to allow me to tell the story with these, the fights. And they're so telling because you see how each of the individuals that we've seen fight differently. Like May, she's got this very kind of unique fighting style where at first she's going to go fists and unarmed, then she's going to try and take your weapon and use it against you, but then she finally is like, nope, I'm all knives now, and she's good at wielding them and throwing them. But Master Soul, that fight in episode 2, oh my god, like he ran a clinic on her, you know what I mean? Like realistically, she didn't get a hit in, she got disarmed, she got put down, she got tripped up. I'm like, yo, to me, that's how a Jedi would be. Like you would be like, if you've got the Force and somebody is not a martial Force user, do they really stand a chance? And while May did stand a chance, he, like I said, he wasn't trying to incapacitate her. He was just trying to stop her in dialogue and stuff like that. But had he wanted to put her down, I don't think she would have really been in that fight, so to speak. But it was really cool to just see the Force being used to not only enhance abilities, like May used it to help her kick that table across, and then there was like kind of the Force pushes and stuff like that. Like I thought it was just cool. You know, it reminded me of Phantom Menace, the opening scene of Phantom Menace a little bit, where we finally saw two Jedis kind of in their not necessarily prime, but like in the height of Jedis. And then when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon used the speed run, and you're like, whoa, Jedi can do that. Like again, we haven't seen Jedi,
and it never appeared again.
Yeah, it never appeared again. Like Jedi powers, them jumping super high, but you're just like, whoa, this is cool, right? So yeah, coming from a world of video games and stuff like that, and seeing Jedi Force powers being, used in so many cool ways, it was still cool to see it here in live action. And I gotta say, that fight in the second episode, I think it's one of the best fights we've seen in Star Wars. Like it was just really, really well done. And I think, again, goes right back into just the whole quality of what the show looks really good. The attention to detail in everything is great. Like the fights are great. It wasn't like it was, okay, we need to get 4 stunt doubles in to come and do this or whatever. And so it just looked cool. And I hope they can continue this kind of quality throughout the rest of the series. And I think there's been a couple scenes where, from the trailers anyways, we know we haven't, got up to that. And that's the lightsaber whip. I'm looking forward to seeing that and stuff. And seeing the scene where you've got you know, kind of that line of Jedis in the charge, right? So it was, yeah, really, really, really cool. Let's switch gears here as we're going. We're obviously liking the show, but was there anything that you didn't like in the first 2 episodes?
Um, I think I think it was just the first episode being a little bit of an exposition dump,
Mm-hmm.
and not getting to. I know it's part of the mystery, but seeing as how both May and Osha are like the main characters, I would have liked to get to know them a little bit more. Like maybe have Osha like interact a little bit more with the other mechnics, or like just having a little bit more time with them before um, the bigger plot occurs.
Fair point. Fair point. I think for me, I think the pacing was good, and I gotta say, I do respect that I think both episodes were about 40, 42
Yeah,
minutes. So
yeah,
I thought that was really good. I think on that plot part, I was really surprised that they, like as I mentioned before, that they did that reveal. I think it would have been almost cooler to have it take them longer to find Osha, and so that they find her after a while, but they can't connect that she was in those 2 places, so they have to find another solution. They're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. She was on this ship and then jumped to another ship to do a job, but those ships were nowhere near where the crime happened. So how is this possible? But I guess they've only got 8 episodes, and maybe the budget didn't allow them to kind of expand that. So the other thing I have a problem with is, well, I guess 2 things, but one's not really, I think, their fault. Super excited that we almost had a crawl, but it was blue this time. I think the last time we had a crawl was in Ahsoka, and it was red. And I've got to say, you know what? Like, just give us back the crawl, God damn it! Start with Star Wars. Start with the music. Give us a proper crawl. And I get that somewhere, somebody made the decision that says, "Oh, the crawl's only for the movies," and I'm like, "Nah, you don't know your stuff. There was crawls in everything. The Super
there's
Nintendo
crawls
video
in the
games. There's
comics.
crawls in the
Like it's
comics.
just
Yeah, there's crawls in the PC games. Dark Forces. There's crawls in TIE Fighter. Just give us like that. To me, that's so. It sets you up to know you're watching something Star Wars. So that kind of, while I knew we probably weren't going to get a crawl, it still irritates me. The second thing was, and I think it was Rogue One did it the first time. I'm like, stop naming planets. We don't need to see the name of the planet when they go there. I'm just like, are we going back? Do we need to know? Just have the characters talk about, I'll meet you on Coruscant. We have to go to, wherever. Just say it. Oh, we don't live in that galaxy. We don't need a roadmap. You just have to say it and sound like it's an important place, or somebody, if it's not an important place, have somebody say, what's over there? Why are we going there? Just putting that label. I think that's, to me, again, something that most Star Wars never did before. So a couple of these new projects doing it, just doesn't feel right. But so those, I think, were, again, not problems with the Acolyte per se, but I guess the overarching, how they are doing things. But the one thing that did bother me in the Acolyte, and this is the fight with Indara and May, and the Jedi robes look really cool and really layered, and we know how damaging a lightsaber is. And we know that, unfortunately, people can live through getting hit by lightsabers. So how is a little dagger going to go through and somehow, like, even if it pierced the heart, like, did it get through your? I was just like, really? That seems a little like. I like the distraction. I really like that she through the dagger, she was distracted to save the person, But how about like a lunge and cut the throat or something that would have been, really you could tell. And I know they weren't going to show somebody getting their throat cut in Star Wars, but it just felt like really
Yeah,
that
I
it
thought
like
she would have survived that
yeah,
at first.
it was just like or maybe like have again you could have it go in and maybe she tries to pull it out and May uses the force. You can just see her force push and slam it in, so the round part just you can tell, oh wow, that's deep. Okay, no, she's not coming back from that. So yes, we can assume that maybe it was poisoned or any of those different things, but I just think at that point it like that part really kind of I was just like, oh yeah,
I think it was kind of inferred with like the speed at which she threw the other dagger that there would have been some force
oh
behind
no,
like
definitely
both.
there was
Yeah.
but it just
Yeah.
again it just visually I think
Visually. Yeah.
it just looked, because look how nice and layered their
Mhm.
robe, the thing, and it looks kind of thick, and it would have been one thing if she looked like Elektra and barely had like a are you running around in silk? What are you doing? Like that's good for nobody, right? But I guess again that it's a little bit of a gripe. I've seen some people griping about stuff online, and some of it I do kind of agree on, but I'm willing to let it slide because, it's science fantasy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got to be able to say, okay, yeah, whatever. It's
If you
acting
really focus on the physics of fire in space, you clearly haven't watched the rest of Star Wars.
exactly. Like legit, nothing is perfect. It's not our world either, right? It's not happening in our galaxy. So let it work for the storytelling. And if that's the thing that breaks your immersion, then I think that then
Watch
nothing
Star Trek.
nothing is gonna take you away and give you that escapism that you need. So we've established that we both really liked it. If you had to score the first 2 episodes out of 10, what score would you give it?
Episode 1, I'd give a 7.
Okay.
Episode 2, I'd give an 8. And yet somehow together, I'd give them an 8.5.
Yeah,
I don't know how that math works.
No, you know what? I think you're absolutely right. If somebody just watched the first one, maybe they would be like a little bit disappointed. But you watch the second one, watching both of them together, the second one makes the first one better, right? I gotta say that even with my trying to keep the hype realistic and stuff, I gotta say I thoroughly enjoyed it. Was thoroughly entertained. My grade or rating out of 10 is solely based on the other Star Wars Disney Plus live action shows. So that's where I'm getting my metric from, because I don't know if it would be fair to, compare it to like some of my favorite TV shows of all time, because they're finished and I know them and I love them. And I can't compare it to Star Wars Rebels. Everyone's telling me, Andre, it's not Star Wars Rebels. Stop comparing everything to Star Wars. But I will definitely say, kind of like you, yeah. First episode for me though, solid 8. Solid. I think episode 2 though is a solid 9. Like that fight scene and the pace, it really picked up. It really got going. It just left me salivating for man. I need part 3. Like Tuesday can't come fast enough.
I've heard a TV reviewer that I really trust reviewed the first 4 episodes, and she said 3 was the one to look out for.
Oh wow!
With no spoilers, so I am very hyped for that one.
That's super cool. That's super cool. All right, well, Nikki, thank you so much for joining me and geeking out about Star Wars. Again, I have to say, like, I really needed this. I really needed to get good Star Wars, and I feel this is it. So if anybody out there watches this, or somebody watches it and just recommends, hey, watch this review or watch the show, judge it for yourself. If you're a fan of Star Wars, if you like lightsabers, if you like distant locations, if you like Jedi, if you like, spaceships, bad guys, this has everything. Legit, in 2 episodes, it has everything. Plus, it's got cool martial arts. I don't know what the martial art are. It could be several combinations of wushu and kung
There was
fu.
definitely Silat
Yeah,
and a lot of Chinese martial arts.
and yeah. So if you're a fan of that, this show has it. And I can't say enough, but like it looks great. Like I guess before this, Andor would have been the highlight of locations and sets.
And like
I think
visually, it feeling
visually,
like real.
yeah,
Yeah.
this I think I liked it better, but also again, I just like this era and seeing the Jedi and seeing everything. But it's really really good. I think I think it looks better than Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka looked cool, it really did. But yeah, this one so far, 2 episodes in, they've got it. Yeah, check out the show. Let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know about what what you liked, what you didn't like. Was there something you were hoping to see in the first 2 episodes that you didn't see? And so if we want to hear that from you, so comment on this video. And if you want more of the High Republic, make sure you just check out. There is a ton of stuff. There's definitely something for everybody. I got my nephews a couple of the early readers kids books for it. There are comics, there are script books, there are novels. Nikki, I'm going to throw it to you. Is there any one particular comic or novel for the High Republic that you would recommend people check out?
There are two. The one that, if you're purely interested in the comics, this is called The Blade. In the Acolyte, they mentioned something called the Barash Vow. This is the origins of that.
Nice.
And the Barash Vow was actually first mentioned in the 2017 Darth Vader series, but also by Charles Soule. So not exclusive to the High Republic. And the second thing I'd recommend is the flagship High Republic book, The Light of the Jedi. I really love listening to the audiobook, but I also read it, so both are excellent.
Awesome.
Hit up Andre and order it from him.
Yes, and if you want to find anything High Republic, you can definitely check out our website, Heroes World Online. I'll put links to that there. We do have a ton of High Republic product there for you. And if you are in our neck of the woods, we are now in Richmond Hill, Ontario. Come check us out. Say hi. Come talk Star Wars or any of the cool other universes that you like, because chances are we like them too. So please check out The Acolyte. I think it's worth it. Nikki thinks it's worth it. We know you'll like it. Thanks, guys, and have a great night.